Fab. Thanks for joining me, Kate. And yeah, this is just going to be a nice, relaxed conversation. Really excited to hear everything you've got to share about your checkered career. So first of all, how about we start with you introducing yourself?
Okay, so thanks very much for having me along, Marie. So my name is Kate. I am British, but I actually live in the south of France. And I've worked in large corporate for 20 odd years. And then as of last year, I took the plunge to leave the kind of like the safe big world and go into working for myself as an expat coach. So I'm currently working with predominantly mothers who are looking to either get out of the trap of being at home, wanting to do more but not knowing what to do, or those who are working in a career and they're wanting to change and to do something else, but with the added context of actually living abroad and navigating the whole kind of like language, cultural aspect.
Yeah, awesome. So we were on a similar path then. We both stepped away from our big corporate worlds and into being coaches last year. That's cool. So
Exactly. Yeah.
tell me a little bit then about your life in the corporate world and what that was about.
Okay, so I started off after university going on to a graduate program at Barclays Bank. So it was very structured, very traditional. But what was really good about it was that you basically had to move every 9 to 12 months into a new part of the business. So I had a very early introduction to the idea of not staying in one place for very long. And to be honest with you, that is what has influenced everything ever since, because that is my foundation of what working and what careers is all about. So I worked in Barclays, did a number of different things, and then took a year off to go traveling around the world and to really decide what it is that I wanted to do. And then I came back and I started temping in different companies. So got the opportunity again to see different organizations. So I worked in the NHS in the UK, but I also worked in a very, very small consultancy business, working with only 7 other people in the organization. So it was the kind of like the two extremes. And then I ended up at Airbus in the UK as a temp, worked within procurement, and then met my French husband and decided that actually, no, I need to move to France to improve my French language. So we moved over here, but basically was always in HR, procurement, finance, project management type of roles. And then I had 2 children whilst I was over here. And that then threw up a whole host of other situations. And that's basically what was the catalyst for me to move into working for myself and doing something different.
Yeah, amazing. So that's a very checkered career. I mean, you've bounced between industries. You've just, it sounds like you've just had this very fluid kind of, I can just keep going. You know, I can do this now, I can do that. So let's just go back to your Barclays career. And you said every 9 months you had to change roles. I mean, that sounds like a really short period of time. Sometimes you don't even get settled in your role until 9 months later, and you work out, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do, especially somewhere like Barclays, which is quite huge, I'm imagining. So how did you manage that? How did that feel?
To be honest with you, it was the only experience I had. So as far as I was concerned, that's just how things work. And I mean, to be honest, so I started off in personal banking. So it's very much around dealing with, you know, your everyday clients coming in off the street into the branches. And I had a whistle-stop tour through a whole host of different areas, from student banking to personal lending to opening accounts, dealing on the old days when you had the counter and you're actually giving out money and taking money in and checks and stuff like that. Very much around customer service. I was responsible for managing a branch in the centre of Leeds. So it was the busiest branch there. And it really was a baptism of fire. But as I said, for me, it was the only experience I ever had. Therefore, it was the norm. I then moved into large corporate, so dealing with clients, but a different category of clients and different expectations and different ways of working and different systems. And then I moved into projects. So again, it was a different feel. It was into the head office. And then I was co-managing a call center down in Croydon, which was all about insurance, so home and travel insurance. And then I worked on a it was a productivity program. It was called The Power of One, and it was all around helping people in the business to actually be who they are, in all the different contexts, rather than just being the straitjacketed banker when they come into the office, but then actually their life is everything else outside. But as I said, for me, because that's how I started, that
Yeah.
was just how it was. And I actually found the shift to being what I call stuck in the same job for too long was actually what caused me the stress.
Interesting. So what do you think you learned from being in that constantly sort of moving around work environment?
So I think, I mean, there was loads of things that I learned in terms of the kind of like the practical skills, but it was also the ability to build relationships with people quickly,
Mhm.
to be able to ask questions, what everybody else would know because they've been doing the job forever, how to manage people who have got a lot more experience and maturity and age than you have, and you need to be able to, influence them and get them on your side to support you. So it's that kind of like fine balance of leading, but
Mm.
having got no experience to be able to lead them.
Yeah.
And I guess it's the adaptability, it's the flexibility of moving. So I was moving location as well. So it was all about kind of like finding new accommodation, living with different people,
Ah.
navigating, moving to new cities and all the rest of it. So yeah,
So the
flexibility,
foundations,
adaptability. Yeah,
yeah, the foundations of what you're doing now started right in the early stages of your career. That's awesome.
exactly.
And it sounds like as well, one of the key sort of learning in that role was to quickly build your network of experts. Can I learn from and
Yeah,
make this happen faster? Who's going to help
yeah,
me make this happen? Which I think is
yeah,
just so relevant, as you know, we both know now, working as self-employed, is you have to build your network. You have
yeah,
to tell people about yourself. You have to learn from other people, learn from your peers. So
yeah.
yeah, that's great. Okay, and also you've crossed industries quite a few times from the sounds of it as well. So how did you find that? Because a lot of people in this, as you know, because you do career change work as well,
Mm.
feel that the jump across industries is quite difficult because they don't know a lot about that. But a lot of the time it's about transferable skills and what you can
Yeah.
take. So tell me a bit about how did you manage that, jumping from one industry to the next?
I mean, to be honest, as you know, from a career perspective, there's two ways you can do it. You either change job or change industry. If you try and do both at the same time, it's not impossible, but that's
Mm,
definitely the hardest way of doing it.
mm,
So it's really looking at what are the common threads. And even when you're looking at different industries and different sectors and different jobs, there is always a lot of commonality. And it's that ability to really look at what your experience is, what your skills are, what your interests are, and using that as almost like the framework and the foundation to be able to leapfrog from it.
mm,
There are obviously certain industries that you have to have especially here in France, a professional qualification that is recognized as a paper certificate of something.
mhm,
Here in France, the careers are very much around your qualification, your academic qualifications. So that's slightly different. But fundamentally, if you're wanting to do it and you build up the network and you have you do your desk research, you do your finding out about the industry, there's so much information available. It's
mm,
actually a lot easier than you think. It's
mm.
just what you tell yourself in terms of, I can't do it, or I can do it, and how can I
Mm.
do it?
Yeah,
And I think that's the big thing. That's the big thing
yeah,
for me.
that's great advice. And it can be part of your master plan for change, can't it? You know, when we're looking at a career change, sometimes the actual destination is just such a huge difference to what we're doing now,
Yeah,
that we have to think
yeah,
about what's these stepping stones between
yeah,
that we need to
yeah,
step on. So like
yeah.
you described, finding the same role in a different industry could be stepping stone number one, because that's getting you that bit closer to where you want to be. Yeah,
Yeah. I
awesome.
think the other thing that I find very, very helpful is in terms of, if you've got outside interests or you're volunteering in different sectors or you're involved in different groups, it could be that actually you've already got some of the experience in that industry. And a lot of the times, depending on the industry you're wanting to go into, they actually like people to come in from elsewhere because you bring new thoughts and new ideas. And that was one of the things at Airbus, in terms of, yes, there was a very, very strong preponderance of aeronautical engineers within the business. But then there were people coming in from the car manufacturers because their approach to lean and quality and stuff like that was something that the aircraft industry was trying to emulate. So it's, how do you sell effectively your experience as an advantage rather than seeing it as a lack?
Yeah, brilliant. That's so true. I mean, bringing in fresh blood, fresh information, fresh ways of doing things. That's how organizations stay fresh and keep evolving, isn't it? And not getting stuck with these same ideas and experiences. Yeah, great. So what did you face? Were there any challenges that you faced through these moves? Because it all sounds very easy right now. So I'm wondering, what challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
Okay, so yes, it's easy to make it sound simple, okay? But as I'm sure it's not a surprise to you or anybody that's listening, it's never quite as straightforward as you think it would be. So yeah, there was definitely challenges. The biggest challenges were around what I was telling myself in terms of what I could do. There were challenges in terms of moving from one industry to another. So I basically left a career at Barclays and took a year off. The year off actually gave me an awful lot of skill sets that were complementary to my working career. But as far as organizations were concerned, that year off was, okay, we cut your career and we start from fresh. So the ability to kind of like go back to the same level and to be able to do things, it didn't happen. So I consciously chose to do something different. So I was temping to find a different opportunity. And then I took the decision to join Airbus. And again, because I hadn't worked in their company, they didn't recognize the experience that I had from elsewhere. So it had an impact on my salary in terms of my level and all the rest of it. But it was a decision to come in to do something. So it's always looking at the bigger picture. It's not necessarily, the detail, it's not necessarily the written down details that's the deciding factor. It's what's the whole experience give you. But yeah, I mean, like everybody, I've had challenges when I've moved from one place to another, adapting to new ways of working. One of the big challenges was moving from the UK to France, where the work ethic is very different. The working practices are very different. And being a native English speaker in a international company where the business language is English, I could operate at a different level within the business than I could within the life. So it's then looking at how do you navigate that and how do you balance that off. So I don't know if that answers the question enough.
It's good for now. How is your French coming along? How long have you been there? A year now?
Well, no. I've been here for like 11 years now. So
Oh,
my
it's been
French is
11
not
years.
bad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had both of my children over here, but I learnt, so my French language is very much around life language rather than business language, because most of my kind of like need for French was from a life perspective rather than a career perspective. And with hindsight, that was a bad decision. Because the only way that you can really get up to speed with a language, in my opinion, is to be fully immersed in it. And it's scary. And it was one of those things where I actually, when I went back after my second pregnancy, I consciously chose to speak in French within the business meetings, and ask my colleagues to speak in French with me, because they were speaking in English because that was the business language. But if they're all French in the room and they're speaking English just for me, then I don't learn anything, and it actually makes it harder for them. So it's kind of, it goes back to the conscious choices.
My partner's brother works in Finland and has that exact situation where everybody speaks in English because he can't speak Finnish. And he is immersing himself, but my goodness, Finnish language is quite something to take on, I think. So yeah.
But I think it's one of those things as well, in terms of, it's how you approach it. Do you approach it as, oh my goodness, it's something that I've got to do, it's real hard? or do you approach it as, oh, this is fun, this is interesting, this is a new experience, a new opportunity? And just by framing it differently makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, having
Yeah.
my children correct my French, however, is not so much fun nowadays. But
Brilliant. But it's so true. I mean, reframing the way we think about situations can have a huge impact.
yeah,
Some of the people I've been coaching, actually, all we've needed to do is just coach around mindset and how they're thinking about their situation and the choices that they've
yeah,
got and decisions they can make, and just
yeah,
having just that refresh of how you're seeing your world can
yeah,
make a huge difference. So the decision to say, I want to learn French because this is the benefit, as opposed to, oh no, I've got to and I'm not very good,
yeah,
or something like that. That's,
yeah.
yeah, hugely different approach to it all.
Yeah, one of the big reframes that I really appreciate is that I'm choosing to do something rather than I have to or I need to.
Mm. Yeah.
And it's really interesting. I did an experiment a couple of weeks ago just to tally up how many times I say I need to or I have to. And then
Right.
for all of those topics, it's in terms of, okay, choosing to say
Mm.
something different. And it is really, really powerful. It's just a one word that changes, but it shifts
Mm.
things really, really quickly.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good experiment. We should all
mm,
try that, picking up on when we're, like you said before, it's about how you think about yourself, and
yeah.
how you put yourself out there, and how you think about yourself in a more positive way. And I think people find that really hard. I think
Yeah.
especially in this sort of career change environment, people suddenly question their capability
Mm,
and
mm,
their value, or can they do it. There's just so much fear that starts to build, and your brain then
mm,
starts to
mm,
talk you out of all of these
mm,
things. um,
mm.
it's interesting. I think that's why it can really help to hear other people's lived experiences, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
these things are possible.
Yeah. Well, just building on that, one of the things I find really helps is to have a celebration book or pot, or another one I heard referred to is an awesomeness journal. So it's all about, okay, why are you awesome? And you don't sit down and write it one day. You add to it,
Mm,
bit by bit, and you start doing that before you need to rely on it as a way of boosting you up and to give you the
mm,
confidence. So it's noting down, what you've done. So if
yeah.
you've done something fantastic today, write it down. So then when you actually are starting to think about, okay, I'm going to change careers or make big life decisions or whatever, you've
Mm,
got something that is the evidence of, well, you've already done a lot of stuff, which is really easy to discard when you
mm,
feel the fear and the doubts and stuff rising.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that has really helped a lot of people that I know as well.
Yeah. It's definitely helped me. I've got a few of those lists going. I did one, I can't remember the exact name of the course, but it was all about women's empowerment and building your confidence. And she made us sit and write um, a list of reasons why I'm remarkable. And it had to be factual, so that you
Mm,
can go into conversations with these facts about
yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
Because, as women, we quite often don't put ourselves out there and talk about all the reasons why we are awesome. This is what I've
yeah,
done.
yeah,
And I found this recently at a networking event, in fact last week. I'm not good at talking about myself and bigging myself up, but I made a point of talking about the things that I know other people have recognized as, being these things I should talk about. And I did. And the engagement I got in response to those things was unreal. I thought, okay, I need, like, this is nothing to be embarrassed about. There's no reason for
yeah,
me to hold back on talking about this. It makes me feel uncomfortable, but people want to hear it. People want to hear
yeah,
you're credible, and that
yeah,
you've got these things that are really worth hearing about. It's just,
yeah.
why do we struggle sometimes to show or talk about how valuable we are as a person?
Yeah, I mean, I used to do a lot of recruitment. So one of my big jobs at Airbus was I was responsible for all of the graduate and internship recruitment.
Mm,
And so you had very, very capable academic students, And you have people who have done phenomenal things and involved in lots of different associations and, you know, charity this and head of that and all the rest of it. And some people just feel really uncomfortable talking about themselves. And as you say, one of the ways of doing it is actually looking at what people you know would say about you rather than you. But the other thing is, and this is it's a very well-known scientific fact, that men are much better and much more comfortable bigging themselves up about what they've done, what they can do, than women. And there's a huge statistic in terms of, if a man sees a job description and he can do, I can't remember what the figures are, but it's like
40, 50%, something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. Go, yeah, perfect, no problem.
I'll have a go.
And if a woman, and if a woman does it, it kind of like she sees and go, oh, there's like 5% I can't do, so I can't apply. But it's that mindset, and in terms of, it's sometimes easier to role play, and I'm sure you've done the same, in terms of, okay, you're not selling you, you're selling your friend who is you. Okay, so what would you say about them if you're looking from the outside in? And just that frame, and then, record it or write the things down, and just get comfortable talking about one thing that you've done, or something that you've said that's made an impact. And the more you do it, it's like every muscle, the more you do it, the easier it'll get. But as I say, the big thing for me is it's easier to do it before you need it. So when you get to the actual point where you say, right, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to change jobs, then there's all the other doubts and the fears and the this, that, and the other maybe cropping up. So the more you can do things up front in advance of every step that you're taking, the easier it's going to be for you to move forward to what you're wanting to do. But it can be done. It can definitely be done, but it is a muscle, and it just needs a lot of work.
It's a muscle, and planning as well. All of these things don't just happen by themselves. They take time and planning and support.
I mean, one of the other things I found is that, we've all written a CV. Okay, pretty much everybody that will be watching or listening to this has written a CV, and we all know how uncomfortable it is to say, I've done this. Okay, there is so many guidelines in terms of what you should include, what you shouldn't include, but fundamentally you need to be assuming that the person who's getting that piece of paper or that email doesn't know you at all. Even if it's somebody who you have worked with, you have to assume they know nothing, because when you're recruiting somebody, that's all you can officially go on. Okay. And it's the same in interviews. If you've told them in the CV and they ask the question and the information is relevant, you say it again. You assume they don't know anything. And you're never going to be penalized for saying the same thing, but you'll be penalized if you don't give them the information.
Yeah, that's it. Leave nothing unturned. Just
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. So so now you're a coach and you work with lots of expats. How's that change been for you?
Interesting. Honestly, moving from a very large organization with 50,000 plus employees, where there's processes and systems and everything, to working for myself, setting up a company in within the French administration, which is interesting to say the least. It's been a really interesting growth journey, let's put it that way. But okay. I love what I'm doing. I'm loving connecting with people who are on a similar trajectory in terms of what they're trying to achieve, to support people and to help people. And I've done so much kind of like personal development stuff in terms of, I know why I'm doing this. I don't want anybody to be in the situation where I was, which is I was in a job that I felt stuck and trapped in. I had no alternative. The language was the issue in terms of being able to jump out into a different company. And I burnt out, as you know. And I was then not able to be the mother or the wife that I always dreamed of being. And I don't want anybody to be in that situation without having the support that is actually really easily accessible if you know where to find it and to look for it. I was very fortunate in that I came across a fantastic coach who helped me in a way that only by looking back now do I realize how much of an influence that was. And I want to be able to support people in that same way. with the dream of going and living abroad, and the dream is fantastic, it's
Yeah.
exciting and new and all the rest of it. But if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, or you haven't thought it through, like you say, planning
Mm,
is key.
mm,
And if you're going over as a family, it's not just you as an individual, it's how it impacts the whole family and the dynamics and the relationships and everything.
yeah.
So, I love what I'm doing. It's definitely what I was here to do. And I think, looking back, about the experiences that I've had, being able to flex across different industries and different functions and different countries, that adds to the possibility for me to help people in a different way, in terms of thinking broader than this is what I've always done, therefore this is what I always have to do.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, I love it. I really
yeah.
love it. But it is a bit of a roller coaster from time to time. But yeah,
Mm.
no, it's great fun.
Yeah, I would say the same. It's one of those situations you think, crikey, this is so different. Trying to self-manage myself and not have anyone creating deadlines and things like that for me.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I have people like you that are holding me accountable for things and saying, are you going to do this? Okay, come on, let's do it. Let's do it. So my
But I
post this
think that,
morning that went out, that was because I
yeah,
knew in my head, Kate's been on my case about this. I've got to do this. I can't just keep recording these conversations and not get them out there. It has to happen. So
well,
yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to the recordings when they come out in mid-August of
Me too.
the interviews that you've already done. So,
Mm,
but I think that's the other thing that you said, is about the network. And I strongly believe that it is not necessarily what you know, it's who you know and who you connect with.
yeah.
Um, and that's really important. And that's something that's even more critical when you are a small company, or you're starting to do something new, because you need that ability to bounce ideas, but also to get the support and the encouragement and the occasional kick up the
Yeah. Yeah.
to actually get things done.
That's it. It's so
So,
true. And as we touched on at the start of the conversation, when you were in Barclays, your first thing was to create that network of experts around you. But when you're
yeah,
outside of an organization, you need to do that still
yeah,
and
yeah,
have that support for yourself
yeah,
and support other people and grow. But
yeah,
you have to create it yourself, and it's a bit harder because these people aren't just there sitting waiting in a
yeah,
in a team of people. You have to really put yourself out there and start conversations and be brave about it. But
yeah,
like you say, it's just one of the biggest things I think you have to learn from going in
mm,
this direction, or if you're any kind of career change. I think build that network. Who are these people that are doing the jobs that you are thinking about doing? What do they
yeah,
say about it? And if you talk to them, is it still something you think you might want to do? You can find out so
yeah.
much, can't you?
Yeah, and I think the other thing, and I remember having a conversation with somebody when I was at Airbus, is fundamentally business is built on relationships. Okay, there is the finance, yeah, but fundamentally, even if it's a product or a service, it's people. So it's how you relate to different people. The people that are working in that industry or in that company, are they your sort of people? Are they ones that you want to spend time with? Do they
Mm,
have the same value set as you? Or are compatible, or is it completely different? And it's really around, it's almost like taking the stress off. It's having to network, or to having to to talk differently, and fundamentally it's just people.
mm,
And if you can like take that away, it's a bit like when I was doing all the Toastmaster speaking. If you have a fear of speaking, it's not actually any different from sitting down and talking one to one like this. But the minute you stand up, there is this fear of, oh, they're all watching me and they're all going to start judging me.
mm,
Um, but it's fundamentally exactly the same. And that's the thing with, with this idea of networking, that it is, are you connecting with people? Can you talk to them? Can you interact with them? Can you build a relationship with them? And those people that you can, it'll work. But you won't be able to network and connect and all the rest of it with everybody, because that's just
mm,
not reality. But it's using the skills that you've already got, that you've been honing for a long time,
mm.
to really just build the relationships with people and take it from there. And
Mm.
that's what works. That's what works. as I'm sure you know as well.
We're all learning this, aren't we, as we go? It's yeah, but so I mean, this sounds to me like you're probably your biggest kind of learning, the value of your network. Is there anything that you would say to those women out there that are sort of sitting in this situation as we've been, thinking this isn't right, this isn't what I want, I'm not that happy, I'm a little bit comfortable.
Yeah.
So do I really want to make the move? But if I don't make the move, then what? What would you say to those people, those women?
Okay, so I think fundamentally, and I don't know if you have the same view, there is no one answer that is right for everybody,
Mm,
but there is one answer that is right for you. And you know deep down what that is. And I think the biggest challenge is being able to get in touch with your gut. Okay, so it's not your head, it's not the logic in terms of, yes, I need to do this and it's going to cost me that and I need to sort that beforehand. It's very much around where's the, and I keep hearing this, is where's the whisper? Okay, what's the
mm.
whisper telling you? And if you can home in on that whisper, then you will know whether it's really right for you. And the other thing is, nothing is has to be permanent.
Mhm.
Okay, there's nothing to say that you can't experiment and try and do things differently. You can, you can stay in the job that you're in and do something on the side. You can take a sabbatical and do something different. You can take unpaid leave and do something different. You could try working in a charity in that particular industry and see if that's really what you want to do. You can try things out in different ways, or you can decide, actually, no, I want to make a jump. And if you are committed to doing everything that you can to make it a success, if you keep telling yourself, I can, I can, then it will work. It may not work in the way that you expect it, but it will work in the way that it was intended to happen for you. You've just got to, and it's easy. The just word is a nightmare, but you've just got to believe in yourself that you
Mm,
can do this and to get the support. Don't try and do it on your own, because honestly, trying to do it on your own is very lonely. And the voice that you will hear more than anything else is your doubts and fears and trepidations. So
mm,
you need to have a way of getting rid of that um, kind of like monotonous um, conversation that's going on with yourself, and get the perspective from somebody else. So, have somebody to bounce ideas off, have somebody that you can go when you need me, pick me up, have somebody who you can go through the detail in terms of the nitty gritty, in terms of, what do I need to do? Somebody that's going to hold you accountable. It's very much around, you are 100% perfect in whatever it is that you want to do, but you've got to believe in you. If you don't believe in you, nobody else will. But you have the support around you to keep you going in the direction that your whisper in your heart is telling you want to go. You've got one life, live it, do it, try it. And, enjoy the journey, enjoy the experience, but get the support that will help you in what it is that you need the real support in. And it may be the mindset, it may be, tech tools, it may be a subject matter, it may be a network of people in the same industry. You can work that out, but don't try and do it alone, because it is much harder when you try and do it alone. So, is there anything else that you would add?
that was beautifully said. I'm not going to even attempt to add anything to it. I just think you highlighted so many things there. Listen to your, I love the whisper. Where's the whisper coming from? What's it saying? And have someone to support you, because our brains do, they're trying to protect us. They're always going to tell you there's a reason why you shouldn't do something. It's really
Mm,
hard to not listen to that when
mm,
it is a bit of a scary change.
yeah,
So have somebody that can help you, support you, advocate you, and keep you going,
yeah.
and battling through those fears and doubts. So
Well, I think one of the other things, just when you were talking, that reminded me is the bit that we were saying earlier about your celebrations. So it's keeping a record of the things that you've done. So, it may be the first call that you've had, or the first networking event that you've gone to, or, you've got your first sale, or, your second sale, or something that you thought was really difficult, but you've done it. Whatever it is, it's very much around, building up the positives to be able to refer back to when things may be a little bit more challenging, but keep the support, both for yourself and from outside, to help you move forward. But as I said, the big thing for me is follow your whisper. Your whisper will get louder. The more you can like stoke it, the more you feed that desire, the whisper and the confidence will get louder, and that will then start drowning out the questions and the doubts and the fears. But it will start off as a very, very quiet whisper, or it did in my case, should I say.
I think mine was a scream for quite a long time. But yeah, stifled it for longer than I should have, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you stifled your scream for a long time. How
Yeah, and
long's a
it's not.
long time?
I knew that I was in the wrong place for about probably 6, 7 years, and
Yeah.
I changed roles within the same firm to try and find my place, to try and,
Mhm.
try and listen to what this screen was telling me without taking any sort of big changes, making any big
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
Had lots of other things going on in my personal world as well, which made everything just feel a little bit more scary. But each time I moved, it was okay for a bit, but then the screen came back again, and and there were points sometimes where I felt like I was on a white knuckle ride, sitting at my desk going, just don't run out screaming, just don't do that.
Yeah.
And it's
So
and it's
whether
frightening.
Yeah, and whether it's a scream, a whisper, somebody told me, and it's like driving a car. Okay, when you're driving a car and you're getting sleepy and the eyes close and the car veers off and it hits the rumble strips and it gets loud. Okay, that's
Mm,
the automatic thing is to swerve back. Um, some people hit the rumble strip in their careers and their jobs, and whether it's a scream, a whisper, a health thing, whatever it is, you're hitting the rumble strip. And it's a question of, do you listen to that, or do you turn the music up louder so you don't hear the rumble strip?
mm,
And I think the big thing for me is to listen for that rumble strip rather than trying to doubt it out with louder music.
mm, mm.
That was
I
just, for
love
me,
that
that was a
analogy.
metaphor that really,
Yeah.
really spoke.
That's brilliant. I love it. Well, is there any parting words, Kate, that you've got, any bits of wisdom to share? You shared quite a lot already, so
No, I mean, for me, the thing is just to really believe in yourself, to get the support that you need, whatever it may be. As I said, I focus on people who are wanting to move abroad with their jobs or just for a new experience, and then they'll find a job there. There's a load of things that can be done that make life a lot easier, and things that can be forgotten about and make life
Mm,
harder. So I would just encourage you to, be open, have an experience, enjoy the ride, but get the support that you need, to be able to benefit from this fantastic opportunity that life gives us, be it for a few years or 10 years or a lifetime or whatever. But we've only got one life, and you've got to live it, and you spend
mm,
so long doing work. So choose something that makes your heart sing, that makes you jump out of bed in the morning, rather than slamming the alarm clock down, pulling the covers up over your head and dreading that thought of going into work. It's really not worth it. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. So
I really hope that this has motivated some people to take some action today. If
yeah,
they don't, then I don't know what we're going to do, because that was highly motivational, very inspiring. It's true. That's the whole point of this podcast, is to just show we're just normal women having a go, and like you said before, experiment. Just try something, but don't just sit and be unhappy
no,
or
no.
unsatisfied.
Yeah, life is life is too short. So you can either struggle through it or you can enjoy the journey.
Mm,
And I struggled for such a long time, and it made me very, very ill. And now it's a question of, okay, how do I enjoy the journey? And this journey may take me, till I stop working, or it may just be a slight deviation before I do something else. I don't know. But it is, embrace it, enjoy it, believe in yourselves. And I would strongly encourage everybody to start, as you said, have those factual things that people talk about you, whether you are working, or whether you know, from a personal perspective or a professional perspective, write them down and refer to them every time you start having the doubts, because that's the truth. That's who you are. That's what you've done, what you've already done. And if you've done that, you can do anything. If you believe in yourself, you can do anything.
Well said, Kate. I'm going to leave it there. I don't think we
Fantastic.
can top that. Thank you very much for chatting with me today, and I will see you very soon.
Thank you. Great opportunity. Thanks, Marie. I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.